honestly hype where people are starting to think about, well, what is Bitcoin? What is all of this all about? And so I want to get people who are non-technical to think about the benefits of Ravencoin as opposed to necessarily getting into any kind of specific protocol war aspect of this. But at the same time, in the future, we might want to do other campaigns, or other people can do campaigns simultaneously. For instance, we have Ethereum miners who are going to be, very soon in a position where they're going to need something to mine. And as Tron said, we're the likely go-to coin. But if we put our efforts together and on a coordinated basis, targeted Ethereum miners, I think that could help the cause as well. And so, with that said, I mean, that's really. There's more to say, but I'll turn it over to Tron, because I know this is supposed to be kind of an open-ended conversation and kind of Q&A on tokenization in general. But that's the high-level overview. And again, you can go to I'm Aaron Day Atlas on Twitter. This is a link to this is pinned, so all of this information is there and publicly available. And I hope you guys can participate and spread the word, and so we can get everybody talking about tokenization. And in essence, imagine if we took the Wall Street Bets movement and applied it to every market. Because the thing that I found to be interesting about Wall Street Bets is their original animosity was towards hedge funds, right? It's like, well, let's get these hedge funds, these people let's do a short squeeze. And it wasn't until the whole debacle with Robinhood where they started to realize, wait a minute, we have T+2. What is this underlying problem? Like they didn't even understand what the underlying problem was originally. And then once they figured it out, now it's a whole new ball game. Well, every industry is broken in a similar way. And if we can start to get movements of people interested in ousting these middlemen and engaging in free direct trade, the world will be a better, more prosperous and freer place.
Awesome, Aaron. I could sit and listen to you for a lot longer. I'm going to try turning on the video. If it doesn't work, I'll shut off the video, and because it might be bandwidth. Issue on my side too, so if I see that, I'll stop. So yeah, I'm seeing the issue. I'm gonna stop the video. Just do voice for a bit, see if this works. So I'm going to jump to RSK. I don't know how much you heard. Let's see. But yeah, I'm going to jump to RSK. So RSK is a smart contract. So it's a separate blockchain from Bitcoin. It's merge mined with Bitcoin, but it's going to have the same language that we did that Ethereum has. But it has the ability to hop coins on top of it by bridging them over. In fact, even Bitcoin is bridged onto RSK. And so we would have the opportunity using, I think it's called PegPow, to move Raven over to RSK. And then also the possibility of moving bridged assets over to RSK. And we just need P2SH, shows a lot of the letters being thrown around, but pay to script hash. It's the ability to do multi-sig for assets to hop those over to RSK. So anyway, nothing's being done on this right now, but I have talked to the RSK engineers, and so I understand it better, so I can kind of write up how that would work. And hopefully, again, we're back to needing developers again, but we can, the foundation can help contribute, and some of the other community members are really helping out and willing to pay full-time developers to help with things like this. So the Ravencoin campus, this Braveland place, right? So you can, we've set up a URL so you can jump straight there. If you want to give people that URL, it'll basically pop up and download either the Mac or the Windows version. And this is a place where people can meet, run into people kind of accidentally, almost like a conference. So you can come in here and just see what people are doing. NFTs. So this is a really interesting space right now. There's been just lots in the news. I had dinner at Pablo's house. He was the one that bought one, I think, in October for 7,000 and sold it in like January or February for $6.9 million. It was a Beeple. So not all NFTs are going to go for that much, but it is an interesting space, and it kind of bridges the world of the virtual or the digital. And so this space is really interesting to be able to do NFT sales, art, display. I've even seen a recent Wall Street Journal article where they've created large digital displays so that they can hang them in the art halls to show digital art. Whereas in an environment like this, it's all digital, right? You would have to take a picture of a physical art to put it in here. Well, for digital art, it's all native. It's already in that form, and so it's a perfect place for perfect venue for digital art. So there's some projects right now from Raven Mode. I know Khalid from Stibbits is working on something, and I spent my evening Wednesday night building a proof of concept to see if we could get auctions going inside this environment using just Ravencoin as the payment mechanism. So just some really interesting thing happened. Also, NFTs are ERC 721 on Ethereum, but they're just called unique assets and have been there quite a while on Ravencoin. And Ravencoin actually has some big advantages in that you get a unique name. A smart contract on Ethereum also gets a unique name, but it's pretty much a random 40 characters filled with the digits from 0 to F. It's just a hex value. It's 40 characters long, and that's the unique name. So you don't get to pick your own name. You don't get to pick a brand and things like that. So NFTs work really well with Ravencoin because you get to pick your own name. It has unique tokens, so if they have a hashtag in the middle, you also know that there's only ever one of them, which is pretty interesting. And then you can also attach it to the metadata. The metadata is just data about the token, so that can be movies, pictures, PDFs, files, etc., text files, etc., about the artwork, digital artwork. And then also NFTs or unique assets can be matched with physical assets. And so you see that a lot with Project 33. So if you go around this venue, you'll see some pictures of glass coins. Those were actually created, glass, stretched, sliced, everyone being unique because it's physical and it's sliced, and then pictures taken of that. But those actually exist in real life. I have a few of them for the Ravencoin ones, and they're very unique. And there's certificates of authenticity that go with those, and I have those, and those can be swept. And those are basically NFTs, digital tokens that go with that item. So there's a way to do that. Potentially where you purchase it digitally, you get the NFT right away. And then if there is a physical item, you can basically redeem it and get it back. But there's a way you can go say, hey, here's my shipping address, etc. So there's some interesting things that can happen there. Ravencoin Wiki, I just mentioned this again. It was in my original thing, but it's just a great place that you can go to. You can link to it off of the Ravencoin.Foundation. It's a wealth of information. You can jump around and find all kinds of things, and a lot of the back history of Ravencoin. If you're interested, it contains a lot of that history and time-stamped. And then there's lots of different places. Still Ravencoin.org. That's still where the downloads happen. And then Get Ravencoin.org, Ravencoin Foundation. There are Discords, Telegrams, Reddit. There's lots of different places that, and it's not centrally managed. In fact, Ravencoin Foundation doesn't really manage any of it. Neither did Medici Ventures. So all of that is just continuing and being managed by volunteers and people that kind of keep the community, lively and organized, et cetera. And so it's a very distributed effort. If you want to set one up or have another place for something, you can either do it in here or you can do it, on one of these other platforms. And so just lots and lots of things kind of all happening simultaneously without any kind of centralized control. That allows it to grow faster. If you ever see things being choked by the Ravencoin Foundation, help me get them distributed out, because there's no sense in having it be. It's not a central choke point. It's just a place where people can connect, and I can connect other people out. So just kind of mention that. And then I think between Aaron and I think we can take questions.
Do you want us to use the hand up, hand down mechanism, or turn our mics on, or how do you like to take questions, Tron and Aaron?
That's great. We can do it in the public chat is one area that would work. Yeah, so I'll take one, and then Aaron can take one. So I have from Michael, when do you expect to bid on the NFTs? So there is a platform being constructed, I think between Stibbets, myself. It would be a way to bid via Raven. And the idea would be you would bid, and a processor in the back would basically check the address and then say, oh, bid, bid taken. It would update in the web browser that would be presented in here in this environment. In fact, I have an example that I think I can put up on the wall here. I think. Yeah, let me try this one, see if it comes up. Nope. All right. See what I did wrong. Basically, there would be a backend processor that would keep track of. Here's an example. Scroll down. There's a barcode here. This is not live. Do not send funds to this. Just an example, proof of concept. But that barcode would be the Ravencoin address. It tells you how much to bid as either a price or a minimum bid. Once someone's bid, that price would be updated. Once there would be a bid increment, so you'd have to bid in increments. It'll tell you what that is, increments of 100 Raven or something like that. And the Raven for the bidders that are losing, that gets sent back. If you kind of violate the rules and don't send enough, you don't send the minimum bid, then it would basically just deduct one Raven and send the balance back. That's just to kind of keep it from being abused and using up fees. And then it would time out when the auction is over and would send the NFT to the winner. And the only trick is you wouldn't be able to send from custodial accounts, things like when Coinbase or Binance or somebody who's holding the Raven. You'd want to send it from a Stibbets or the Raven wallet or Raven Core or something like that, so it knows where it came from, so that it can send the funds back. I'll let Aaron take a question. Aaron, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm looking to see if any of these are applicable to me.
Gotcha.
I mean, I see, will Raven asset issuance burn fee be lowered with the halvening? And to be honest, I don't know the answer to that.
Oh, I can answer that. No. I'll answer the question. Do you plan to build an appealing website for Ravencoin Foundation? So yes, so that's actually a problem in that I have zero design skills, none. And there's some really talented designers that were at Medici, and I've asked them to put together a proposal on what it would take to make it look really nice. And so I haven't gotten that proposal back, but yes, it needs help. And I would argue so does Ravencoin.org, just from a style and I can recognize good stuff, but can't do it myself. So that's something that going to have to be, we'll have to get some good designers in.
Most of these look like Tron questions.
Well, if you want to take any, jump in. I'll just answer questions here. What will happen when all Raven are mined? Yeah, that's a great question. So that's like Bitcoin, that's 140 years out. So I can only speculate. I would guess at some point, I think this will be true of lots of the more popular platforms. I would put Raven in that category. They're going to hit the demand level that requires the fee to go up, and so at some point the fees, as we approach that, the fees will help power the block reward, because the fees also go to the miner instead of the block reward. And so that's happened with Bitcoin. It's happened with Ravencoin, or sorry, happened with Ethereum. Maybe happened too early, meaning the fees have gotten extraordinarily high, I think, on both of those platforms. And so they've kind of lost their ability to kind of become a quick, easy, cheap payment rail. That can happen with Ravencoin. If it happens too quickly, there's ability to scale it up and let it grow, have more capacity. But you do want it as the block reward fades out. You do want to have the fees be able to power the security of it. So I expect that to happen over time. There's no rush. We have 140 years to get there. Actually, that's probably not true. The halving happens pretty quick. So we have about 16 years to address that. The logic of not adjusting the burn rate. Yeah, there's a couple things. So, I mean, you could make the argument that the burn rate is too cheap, just because you're basically using up space on, permanent space for in the namespace all the time. I think I've heard your arguments, Vincent, about the burn rate being too expensive because the Raven rate, the cost of Raven has gone up, right? So at some point you could create assets for about $6 each, because Raven was 1.2 cents. Now that's closer to $100 because Raven's about 20 cents and it's 500 to build a root asset. So you do need a root asset to be able to create NFTs. But someone who owns a root asset like art or something like that, or NFT or something short, could basically be the platform operator to create unique assets for people and send it to them, for like $1 a piece, that kind of thing. Those names do take up space in everyone's computer, meaning thousands of nodes, and so it is kind of expensive space. And so there's probably a pretty good reason for having it not be so cheap that people create lots and lots and lots of them. And then also every one of them uses up some space in the UTXO set, which is in everybody's memory as well. And if that gets too large, then it starts to be, kind of more expensive to run nodes. Yeah, I'll just mention this. Khalid mentions that to see the Mona Lisa, you can go to the expo hall, and it's basically this Mona Lisa, and you can see it there. And there's a kind of a push to get like an art hall going, where art that is for sale and is for auction can be around, and people can walk through and see it and bid and purchase NFT art, and have it be based on an automated system.
I do have something that I kind of want to interject if I could, because it's
Yeah.
something that I just learned about this week. So I know many of you have probably seen, I think Pathfinder did a meme of Tron sitting at a lemonade stand. And there's always been this conversation about, wouldn't it be great to be able to go into a local restaurant or a small business and be able to buy security tokens and invest in that small business. And this is actually, above and beyond doing the marketing stuff, I actually have projects that I'm looking to build on top of Ravencoin. And the one that's the most interesting to me is this building an STO platform for small business. And so I've been investigating this because, as many of you may or may not be aware, the SEC just changed their guidelines on crowdfunding. And so now a small business can raise up to $5 million without having to go through all of the formal registration process. And a lot of people have interpreted this to mean that a company could just go out and raise up to $5 million. Like a company could just launch their own security token offering. Well, it turns out that's not quite how it works. In order to do one of these STOs, you actually have to go through a registered broker-dealer. And this is kind of a pretty big gating item, actually. And I've investigated what's involved in becoming a registered broker-dealer. In fact, I met with Bruce Fenton on Wednesday and chatted about this. Well, Watchdog is doing this, but Bruce isn't necessarily building a technical platform to do security token offerings. He's building a licensed broker-dealer, a full-service broker-dealer, to be able to compete with the likes of a Goldman Sachs and so forth. But he's not actually building the STO platform. So where I'm going with this is, what I'm currently doing is I'm going through the process of taking a securities industry exam, which is the first step in doing this. And then I'm going to ask Bruce and Watchdog to sponsor me to create an organization that would be affiliated with Watchdog, but whose sole purpose is to create a platform for doing STOs using Ravencoin. Because as far as I know, unless somebody else is doing it, I'm not aware of anybody building that. So if anybody is, please let me know. But I bring this up because it's not certain. I actually talked to Bruce about it. I thought, sponsoring somebody to take a Series 7 would be a simple thing. It turns out it's not, and he has to get approval from FINRA. There's this whole process that you have to go through. So there's a lot of work to do to get from here to somebody being able to sit down at Tron's lemonade stand and invest and buy security tokens. But I would like to figure out what that work is and do that work. And if people are interested in this type of project and want to get involved, ping me as well, because I'm going through the learning process on this. But to me, this is one of the most exciting. The public equity thing is great, but that's not where my true interest is. My true interest is, how do we liberate capital? How do we make it so that small businesses can access small investors all over the world? And to me, that's the exciting thing. So just wanted to give that quick update.
That's great. If I missed your question, you can type it again. Would $1,000 per asset be too much? Not necessarily. If the chain is getting full, if it's not at capacity now, right? It's not a concern at the moment. But if it is, then no, it wouldn't. For a root asset, so that you can create NFTs, it wouldn't be if we're running at capacity. Basically, the system will automatically balance, and it will get more expensive as it increases. What is its capacity? Its capacity is about 20x Bitcoin's capacity. It's 10 times faster and 2 times as the blocks are twice as large. So you just multiply that 10 times the 2 and you get 20 times the capacity. Can we add a reissuable unique asset to the asset creation toolshed? Probably not. And the reason why is because once you create it, it represents that thing. And so you want to put the graphic with it. You want to make it so that that token represents what you said it represented. If you want to make it a different one, something different, then you would probably pick a different unique thing, pay an extra, pay the other another 5 Raven, which is under $1, and make a different one. If you want to attach data to it sequentially so that you have something that's unique, because it could even represent like your voice, for example, right? Because you're digitally signing it when you transfer it. You could actually attach IPFS as you files to it as you transfer it, and then you're basically digitally signing that transfer, even if you send it to yourself. And so you're kind of proving that you were the one attaching that data, and so it can be used as kind of a public channel, but with provable provenance, right? So once you build a reputation for that token, that each of those IPFS files, kind of is your voice. What's the next hurdle for Ravencoin, and how can the community help? So I would say a lot of the hurdles currently are development resource constraint, and it's not really even money. It's actually developers that know what they're doing, that have some blockchain skills and can help build wallets, can help fix issues, can help do sort of DevOps type things for core. Some of the people need to be very trusted, that are working kind of in the guts of it. But there's also pieces that are just let's see. There's more than 21 billion things tokenizable in the world. That is true. The nature of blockchains means they're not anywhere near as efficient. You could put 21 billion things in a database. Putting 21 billion things into a blockchain where thousands of computers are all tokenizing them and all keeping track of all the UTXOs, probably not practical. So it just doesn't, blockchains, we've seen this with Bitcoin, we've seen this with Ethereum. We have more capacity, but not thousands of times capacity. It's 20 times the capacity. So it should be used probably for the things that are valuable, that you don't want counterfeited because it has that security. But for some things, database makes more sense. Can you speak to the addition of smart contract functionality to Raven? That would enable artists to be paid a percentage of the resale of their work in perpetuity. Yep, I can speak to that. So that's probably going to be, if smart contract functionality is going to come to Raven, it's probably going to be Raven assets being bridged onto a smart contract platform. That could be Ethereum, but it would be smarter, I think, for us to partner with RSK, which is basically, we'll call it a competitor to Ethereum smart contracts. It's a side chain, merge mined with Bitcoin. Again, it's not full because it's new. And they're already bridging Bitcoin over to it. Raven should be able to Raven the token should be able to be bridged over it using exactly the same technology. And once we've updated the core protocol of P2SH, assets should have multi-sig and be able to be bridged over there as well. So that's what I would recommend if you need that functionality, is kind of working towards that. What if the unique has a legal document that needs updating? Yeah, so here's an option. One option is the unique token. All you'd have to do is say the spec is this, that the document is updated every time it's sent, right? Then you can update the legal document. If the person you send it to isn't what you're updating, right? Isn't the person that sent it to isn't the one updating the legal document, then probably regular assets where you only created one of them is probably your better option. They're a little more expensive, but it's probably your better choice. But the functionality exists. Where is that list of development needs? Is that on ravencoin.org? Yeah, so there's one list on ravencoin.foundation/proposals. And that's the one that will show you all the ones that the Ravencoin Foundation is currently funding, meaning it's open, they're in progress, but it's kind of a promise to pay if it's complete. But there's others that we'll be adding to that list. You'll see it's basically a Google spreadsheet. So as soon as I find ones that say, yep, we need to get this, the thing that's slowing me down is I need to kind of estimate them, and that's just not easy to do. I have to understand it well enough to kind of make a sort of a reasonable guess at estimation. That takes a little time. Let's see. How much will Lightning Network Segwit improve the block scale? So Lightning is definitely an option. I don't know if we need Segwit. If the Segwit, this is just something I need to figure out. The reason Segwit was so important is you couldn't have transaction immutability. It was incompatible with Lightning. So you needed to have a transaction that couldn't be changed. And with the old style Bitcoin transactions, you could rip the signature off, put the signature back onto the same transaction in a different format, but they give you a different transaction ID. Well, Lightning is basically a chain of, but not on chain, of a sequence of linked together like a chain of transactions that rely on each other. If anybody had malleated or changed the transaction ID anywhere in that chain, it breaks. So they built Segwit to do that. I think that the transactions in Ravencoin are not malleable, in which case we may not need Segwit to do Lightning, but I'm not sure on that. So that's something that's going to need to be checked. Can you please tell us more about T0 and Raven? A little bit. I mean, I used to work for T0 way back. I don't work for them now. I know a lot of the developers. T0, you can go buy Raven at T0. T0 using Ravencoin assets for issuance of securities isn't really up to T0. That's up to people who create their own issuances for security tokens. There are some that are coming that are big enough that I believe they could get on T0. And that might include Tanaga, might include Millennium Sapphire, or others. If they're large enough, T0 wants them, but tokenized on any platform. A lot of people right now are looking at Ravencoin as an issuance platform because Ethereum's gotten really expensive. There was a video recently by one of the co-founders of Exodus. And you can go find this. I've tweeted about it, including the video link. And tokenizing their company, they said, would cost $9 million on Ethereum because of the fees. Well, Ravencoin would solve that. And so that's an option. Also, T0, and this is also public, T0 is partnering with Exodus. So there's a lot of good partnerships there. We just need to get everybody talking. The plan is right now I have my calendar to talk to Sam over lunch next Thursday. So hopefully we get some good stuff done. Open market for in-game assets with active bids, transferability of in-game items. That's definitely a possibility. When you expect Raven will be on Coinbase or Gemini? We put out the. I did the. It was a long survey. A lot of the questions were related to is Raven or is the token that you're submitting a security? And Ravencoin, thanks to Bruce, and he was a stockbroker, he knew what not to do, which was to sell a bunch of tokens in advance or do a pre-mine. And so I think we did a really good job on the questions, meaning the answers just were good, just because of the nature of Raven. That's as far as I know. I don't think they would tell me if they were going to. So I don't know the answer beyond that. I can't promise anything. We filled out the proposal, and that's kind of where we're at. With ETH getting expensive, why do you not think Raven will have the same problem? It might. It might. So it would have not quite the same problem though. Ethereum is charging for running smart contracts, and Ethereum tokens are just a smart contract, right? So it's ERC20. It's a smart contract that has an issue and a transfer procedure call or function, and you just have to pay for all the computers around the world to all run that same function. And that's not how Raven works. So, but I don't want to promise that if everybody starts trying to use Raven for everything, that the fees won't go up. That's just, we'll hit a capacity. At that point, we need to sit down and say, all right, what scaling options do we want to do? And different ones will be at our disposal, including increasing the block size, including lightning type thing. We're not there yet, so it's not a high priority, but we could have it to the point where Raven fees do go up. A lot of projects kind of recognize that, and they say, what do I do about that? And the answer I say is buy Raven now while it's cheap. Let's see. RavenX seemed like a fully functional Raven asset exchange already built. I hope something like that comes back. You just have to be really careful, because if you start trading things that are considered securities, there's some legal implications for that. So I think you just have to make sure that whoever's running it, needs to make sure that they're not putting on secondary trading of securities, just because there's some legal implications if U.S. folks are on there, or regulated, folks in regulated countries, the FCA or in Europe, I think, and the SEC in the U.S. What's the update on the Raven DEX and the Raven Mask wallet? I don't know. I saw that wallet in kind of its early alpha form. I'm super excited about that, but I don't have any more information for you. But I think it's brilliant. I think it's a great idea, and I'd love to see it happen. I'm going to stop for a second. Aaron, is there any questions you want to take?
I'm not seeing any of these that are really targeted towards me.
Okay. I mean, I can keep going if you want. If this is getting boring, let me know. Too expensive to create tokenized assets. Yeah, I think too expensive is relative. Right now, you can create a root token for roughly $100, and after that, a sub assets for about $20. So one thing that might happen, and I'm just throwing this out there, is someone who gets a really good name, like I don't know, just assets or something. They could basically just charge the $20 for sub assets, because a sub asset is just as good as a root asset, except that it's owned by somebody else that creates it. So they could create it for you, create the sub asset, and then you own it, and then it becomes your own, but it's in your own namespace. So it's cheaper because it's not using up the root namespace. So there is that solution. That puts them at about $20 right now. Let's see. If ASICs are created in the future that mines Raven, will the blockchain fork? So an ASIC is just a custom built chip. That's all it is. What's happened with Kapow is a mining algorithm that uses, and it kind of expands and uses all of the features of a GPU, of a graphic processing card, video card. If someone were to create an ASIC now, I don't think it would be dominant, because it would look a lot like a video card, and the video cards manufacturers, NVIDIA and AMD, just have huge economies of scale and can build, can use, 14 nanometer processes and things like that are expensive. And so I think it wouldn't have much advantage. Now that's speculation, but we're kind of at the limits of what we can do to kind of prevent ASICs. If somebody builds one that's custom, then it's going to look a lot like a video card. NFT royalties possible with Raven. Yes, absolutely, but it would have to be like a central server. You could do that right now without a smart contract, but it basically would, when the art hall or whatever sold it, they would basically say, all right, we know who the original owner was, because you can walk back the chain to the UTXO of the original creator of the NFT, and it could pay that if you wanted to do that, right? If you wanted to use that model of paying 10% back to the original creator of the asset, you could do that now. It just wouldn't be done with the smart contract. It'd be done with basically a script that kind of runs in the loop. Is this a good platform for issuing stock in a company? I think it's a fantastic platform for issuing stock in a company. The trick is just staying legal, right? And it's actually a fantastic platform for staying legal to issue a stock in a company. It's just, it's not what I would love to see, which is like you create it, sell it like the lemonade stand, and you just can't do that in the US. There's just rules, specifically the Howey test. If it fails that, which is that you're basically somebody's building the company, which means it's in a common enterprise. There's an expectation of profit, that these guys still have to work on it. And if you sell slices like that, then it's a security. And so you just have to, you can still do it. It's not that it's illegal. It's just illegal to do it without following the rules. And so one of the rules is you kind of have to know who the people are that you're selling it to. So that's the KYC thing. So there's just certain rules in the US that you have to follow. But it's a great platform still to do it. And restricted assets allow you to tag addresses with KYC. There's all entire articles about that, so you can look that up. Paying dividends on Raven coins, is it possible? So the technology allows you to pay dividends back to token holders in Ravencoin, or paying like a interest rate to Ravencoin holders, although they're making those Ravencoin. It would have to be somebody's just donation, right? Because there isn't there's not a staking service or something like that. But the technology is there. If you have either tokens or Raven, if you wanted to send something to them, you can. It's royalties. The idea that artists could always get a percentage of the sale of their NFT at the rest of time. That is possible, but not as a smart contract. OpenSea is having problems with customers not receiving their NFTs, and there's no proof of transaction. Well, I don't know why that wouldn't be with Ethereum TX IDs or transaction IDs, but Ravencoin definitely has transaction IDs that you can look up, and then you would be able to trace all of those. And in fact, Ravencoin UTXOs, because it's based on the UTXO model, which is unspent transaction output, is very traceable all the way back to origin. You can follow the NFT from address to address to address all the way back to origin. And if you did want to pay a royalty, you could do that. You would know which address to pay, essentially. Are most NFTs linked to centralized website, creating issues in the future if the website shuts down? Let's see. So the NFTs, if the artwork or the digital item is in a website, yes, that's absolutely a problem. That was a problem with one of Ravencoin's predecessors, which was Counterparty, which was allowing you to create assets on top of Bitcoin. And the metadata for that, meaning the data about the token, was stored as shortened URLs pointing to a website. Well, most of those websites went away in a bear market. And so now you have this shortened URL that goes nowhere, and you had no idea what the token was. That's the reason for IPFS is built into Ravencoin. You at least have the IPFS link. As long as someone's pinning that file, or you can pin it yourself, or Ravencoin community can pin all of them, or all the ones that aren't too large, then we would have that entire database of all the graphics. So yeah, so how will Ravencoin prevent this from happening? The answer is pinning or keeping track of all the files that have IPFS links today, so that even if somebody who didn't pin it or didn't keep track of it or didn't have a copy of it, if they go away, you can throw that file back into IPFS, get that same hash, and then everybody can see it again and pin that file. Anybody can pin it, and the name is the file, right? The two are linked. So if you have the file and you throw it back in, you get the same name. You pin it, and that file is immutably associated with that data. So, and that's the way this Mona Lisa that you see up there is an IPFS file. So if you went home today, download that file, pulled it, put it on a thumb drive, threw it back in, you'll get the same IPFS link. I was hoping to use this as a gift card to issue a Bobby token. It's worth X on my site. You can absolutely do that. So one thing we would like to get to is a light client. And by light client, I mean a wallet, a mobile wallet that doesn't take very long to sync or doesn't sync at all because it's talking to an API. And I think that would help. And if that also had white label capability, so that wallet could be rebranded, badged or rebranded with your colors, your name, your whatever, your icon, and then put into the App Store and only handled your token, then it would be kind of a great tool for gift cards, points, pre-sold, prepaid things, stuff like that. Counterparty equals $3.50. What's the difference with Raven? I'm not sure what that means. You can clarify that question. I'll try to answer it. I'm not sure if you mean counterparty, the technology, or counterparty meaning the other person, which is just a term, right, for somebody else who's involved in the transaction. So I'm not sure. What do you think about the relationship between T0 and Braveland? I don't know what that relationship is. So you have to ask somebody else on that. Let's see. Yeah. Two questions coming in, but they haven't come in yet. There we go. Bitcoin ATMs are growing across the globe. Will Ravencoin be integrated into ATMs, or is this not how Raven should be used? I would love to have Raven in ATMs. I know it's in at least one. Tell you which one. 1 second. That in front of me. Oh, Vault Logic, the ATM from Vault Logic. It's already on there, and you can buy it with cash. It's a two-way ATM. You can put it, you send Raven and get paper dollars back, or you can put in paper dollars and get Raven. We had one of the ATMs in the Peace Coliseum for a while, but those exist. I think there's a couple of them in Vegas, and there's other ones around. I don't know exactly where they are, but look up Vault Logic. Ravencoin mobile wallet improvement. Do we have devs for this? We do not. So if there are some of the proposals to fix those are in the ravencoin.foundation/proposals. So contract firms can pick those up if it's within their budget. If we don't get developers working on it, we may end up moving those amounts up later, but for now they're kind of set. Do you know if T0 will list Ravencoin NFTs? I don't know. I don't think that's the market they're going after. So it's worth asking, but I don't know the answer to that. I would suspect not, but I don't know. Why did Overstock decide to sell Medici? I don't know that either. That came as a surprise. So Medici is actually a fund now. For people who don't know, Medici the developers, and including a lot of friends of mine, were let go. Most of the developers got jobs either in other Medici portfolio companies or in Overstock, etc. But they turned it into a fund, and then that fund is going to be managed by Pelion Venture Partners. And I don't know what went into that decision. C++ developers needed. Yes, C++ developers are needed. That's true for core portion of the mobile wallets. There's a core portion that kind of does the signing and stuff, etc. And then for the Android wallet, the other part is in Java, and for the iOS wallet, the other part is in Swift. So kind of 3 different skill sets needed there. Is there an active Raven Clubhouse in the Clubhouse app? You know what? I actually have that on my to-do list. I think that's a great idea. Currently, no. But that's a great idea. What is the difference between Counterparty and Raven on the technology side on the target? Okay, so Counterparty was built on top of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is kind of blissfully unaware of Counterparty. And so it requires that every asset transaction not only pay Bitcoin fees to do the transaction, but that it also has to include Bitcoin in the transaction. Otherwise, that kind of gets carried with the asset. Otherwise, Bitcoin goes, hey, I don't get this. So there's no reason to send this non-Bitcoin transaction. So we were able to kind of fix those types of things. But it's very similar technology. Obviously, we added some other stuff with restricted assets and tags and things like that. But a lot of it, Ravencoin was modeled after Counterparty, multi-chain, open assets, Mastercoin, which is now called Omni. And so we kind of took the best of those 4 and put them together. C++ is hard to find. Yeah, that's true now. It wasn't 20 years ago, but it is now. Yeah, C# a little bit different. Just it's closer to Java than it is to C++. Has a lot of the same C++ type syntax, but it actually, with the memory management and things like that, isn't quite the same. Who is Aaron Day? This is a great question for Aaron Day.
Who am I? Well, I'm a enthusiastic Ravencoin supporter since the very beginning. My background is a serial entrepreneur. Started my first company in 1995, and was briefly in the venture capital area, and then became a liberty political activist, and am done with that at this point, and focusing exclusively on Ravencoin. And in the short term, anything that I can do as far as promoting Ravencoin, but then also looking to invest and build things on top of Ravencoin.
Awesome, thank you. What about Raven as a stable coin? When can we see it live? So there's a couple of options there. Anyone can create a stable coin on Raven now, in the same way that, let's say, Tether did, meaning sticking the dollars in the bank and then creating a token. If you watch what happened to Tether and the kind of the legal stuff that kind of like rained down on them, it's not an easy thing to do. You just get, it's like, how do we know you have the right dollars and the amount of dollars in the bank, all that kind of stuff. It's relatively easy to do it the way they did, though, on Ravencoin. So they basically mint a block and they put some in a treasury. They've done some podcasts on this, and they're worth listening to. So they have this treasury, and so let's say you just created, RUSD that was a stable coin, for example, right? So you have that, you have this treasury. That treasury would not have dollars associated with it, but let's say the dollars came in, you got $100, you basically take in the ones that come out of a specific treasury address, then and go into the market, then those dollars would have to be in the bank. And then the trick is basically proving to everybody that that's the case, right? You have the dollars in the bank, and there's no more tokens being issued that aren't in the bank, et cetera. But the technology is there, and you can do it the same way that basically Tether's doing. I think Tether also, if you get a specific Tether address, you have to get KYC. They have 1% redemption, I think, things like that. So they set up some rules and things like that. Anyone can do that. It's not something the foundation's going to do, but the technology platform is certainly there. Just like they're issuing on ERC20, but Ethereum's not doing that. It's someone else that's doing Tether or USDC or any of these other tokens. Anyone can do it on Ravencoin. Just make sure you do it. Kind of make sure that you keep it all matched up, right? So you have all the ones that are issued, match all the dollars in the bank, and then make sure you kind of follow all the FinCEN rules, etc. Win virtual real estate on Raven. Don't know. There's people want to tokenize real estate. Real estate, especially, well, it used to be big office buildings, right? You can tokenize them, and they're like a revenue cash cow as people lease them. That's kind of questionable coming out of COVID, but tokenizing real estate of basically a shared interest in a house and things like that, certainly possible. Will we be able to create private rooms in Braveland to have smaller group meetups? So there's two parts to that. Yes, there are private rooms in Braveland. They're called team suites. Not everyone has access to them. I think I can provide access to them for groups. The other thing you should know, though, is you walk into most of these rooms and there's a table and there's a dotted line around it, blue dotted line or a blue line around it, and it has 8 chairs. Anybody who sits in those chairs can hear anything of just those people. You're basically in a cone of silence, and you can have meetings just like that as long as someone else doesn't join your party and sit down in a chair. But there are private rooms where you can actually lock the doors. And so those are an option, so I'll talk to Joshua about what the options are there. But they're called team suites, and there's like 12 of them. So those certainly possibility. What's your thoughts on using the word minted when creating an NFT? Popular word when creating Ethereum. What do you recommend? Yeah, that's great. Minted is great. Issued is kind of the word that we've used for a while, but minted is really the same thing. Yep, that's great. How can we get access to presentations here in Braveland? Yeah, so there's a presentation flag that gets set, and that allows you to change browsers to, if you're in the auditorium, you can dim the lights, hide the furniture, shrink the walls a little bit. There's just a few controls. I think I have the ability to give people that. If that's something that you want to do, talk to me, talk to Joshua. There's also some other people that can provide that. Yeah, this is fairly new to me. I was given access to this a week or two ago, so I don't have all the answers for that. We saw Bruce Fenton 2 weeks back in the dev meeting. Is he still involved in any way? He's still an owner on the GitHub. He's still the owner of Ravencoin.org, Ravencoin.com. To my knowledge, he still has Raven, but I don't know that for sure. I think he would like to do issuances on Ravencoin, but I don't want to speak for him. So I don't know. But I'm still good friends with him. Still want to get out to New Hampshire, and so it's like we're all getting along. But I don't. But he's. But I don't know much more beyond that. How do we get Ravencoin Girl to do a concert in the concert hall? That would be awesome. I will make that suggestion to her. That would be fantastic. That would be great. Bring massive attention to Raven. Yeah, that's true. You could. You're welcome. You're welcome, and you're welcome. You're welcome. All right, I just wanted to do one thing. So my dancing skills are much improved in this virtual environment.
I hate to do this, but I need to head out. Actually, I'm doing a podcast shortly about Ravencoin of all things.
Awesome. All right. Well, I will answer any further
Thank
questions.
you, everybody.
But thanks, everybody. I'll stick around for about 15 more minutes, and if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thanks, everybody. But don't feel bad if you're leaving or whatever, have to go or anything like that. Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Let's should we all go to the expo hall?
Sounds good.
All right, let's go to the expo hall.
See you there.
See you there.